The Cleveland Browns starters are set to play in their first preseason game this year. You know what that means? Please don't get hurt. Please don't get hurt. Please don't get hurt. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or if you are new here, then please do me a favour and hit that subscribe button. So we finally made it, the final preseason game of 2025. After this Saturday's game, we are week 0. All things looking ahead towards Cincinnati. I can't wait. This is one of my favourite times of the year. The sun is still shining. The smell of football is in the air. It truly is a great time to be alive. Great time to be a Browns fan, no matter what anyone else tries to tell you. This is one of my favourite times of the year. But before we do get into the Browns preseason game against the Rams, what to expect and all of that good stuff, just wanted to kind of go over a couple of the news bits we've had this week surrounding the Browns before. Starting with Jawan Briggs, defensive tackle out of Cincinnati College. This was a 7th round pick that we have now traded to the New York Jets for a 6th round pick. So you get a better pick on your return. You get value on your return. It's a shame. I'm a fan of Jawan Briggs. I think he can be a good NFL player, even as a 7th round pick. This is a plus level run stopper that would have made this roster in plenty of other years, but unfortunately just happened to be trying to make this roster this year on a Browns team that is so loaded at defensive line. It's a joke. I mean, this is the most loaded the Browns defensive line has been since I've been following this team, and that includes any teams with Clowney on it, any teams with the Zadarius Smith on it, any teams with Olivier Vernon on it. This truly is the most loaded Browns defensive line I've seen. So it was hard for him, to create a space for him to make this roster. We all know that Jim Schwartz loves his defensive linemen to be able to rush the passer. It is the one knock on Jawan Briggs. He is not a pass rusher. He is a run-stopping defensive tackle, and a pretty good one at that. But I think all of those things combined, the Browns, he probably wasn't going to make the roster. So to get a pick back instead of cutting him and obviously having him on the practice squad is good business. You can't really complain. As I said, I am a fan of Jawan Briggs. It is a shame to see him go, but he's going to get a chance to actually play this year for the Jets. And if him being traded means that opens up a roster spot for Aiden Huntington, then I'm happy. I think this was a good move. More injury news, something that came completely out of the blue. Nathaniel Watson has torn his bicep. He's been put on IR before the season starts, which means that his season is already over. He will not play in the 2025 season. Obviously, tough luck for him. Hope that he can get healthy and get back to this team next year. Of course, that's your first thought. You think about the player. But in terms of, the Browns, this is, of course, disappointing, losing another linebacker, someone that, he wasn't going to get 60% of the snaps. He wasn't going to be a starter. But this is a guy that I believe would have contributed at that Sam role that now obviously, is not going to be playing for the season. So, my first thought was I would like to know if Devin Bush is playing football this year, because I wouldn't feel quite as bad about this injury if I knew that Devin Bush was playing this year, because I think he can fill that Sam role quite well as well. So obviously keep an eye on this one. We'll have to obviously see what happens with Devin Bush as well. But, Devin Bush is out and Watson is out, and of course JOK already out, then, what I was calling one of the deepest linebacker rooms in the NFL a few months ago suddenly looks quite thin. Thankfully, thankful for Carson, because without him, this would look like a pretty bad linebacker group. But there are still guys in there. But, we've also not heard much about Diabate, which is slightly worrying. He, didn't practice for, I think, 2 weeks now. Hasn't been listed in any of the injury reports, wasn't listed in any of the injury report for this preseason game. So not entirely sure what's going on with him. Hopefully see him back in the building soon, someone that can also contribute at that role. So hopefully we get good news surrounding these other linebackers for the Browns. And finally, on the bit of news, it was reported that the Browns are interested in trading for a running back or acquiring a running back, which of course in classic Browns fashion sent Twitter into a bit of a meltdown. I think a lot of people were having their fun with this one. Look, I don't think we need to make every bit of news the worst thing to ever happen. Any times any Browns news drops, it does feel like we like to make it the worst thing that's ever happened, and the Browns are the worst thing ever. I think we could probably look at some of this stuff a bit more objectively. I get it, of course. The Browns let Nick Chubb go this offseason, and they drafted 2 running backs, and then you see the report that they're looking for a running back. It does make you, of course, initially scratch your head, but the Browns didn't plan on Quinshon Judkins, getting most likely suspended, getting in the situation that he got in. You can't really bank on these things. That's their running back one. That's the workload back gone. Maybe not, but possibly. So, to me, this is just a case of a team that wants to run the ball a lot, wanting to run the ball a lot. I mean, they've looked at that room, even with Quinshon. Is there 500 carries in that room? I don't know. I don't think so. So that's why they're looking for a running back. They're going to run the ball a lot. They're going to probably run the ball over 500 times this year. Is there 500 carries in that room? I don't think so. So why not bring someone in? Brian Robinson, someone that keeps getting floating about, although apparently he's going to get cut if no one trades for him. So if I'm the Browns, I'd probably just wait. I wouldn't give up assets for a running back personally. I would just wait to the roster cut down days, and if they really want to do it, pick up someone that didn't make a roster, and that's what I would do. But that's the news. On to the Browns preseason game against the Rams. The only preseason game this year that's actually played in Cleveland at Huntington Bank Field, or whatever they want to call it. So good for the fans to obviously get their first proper look at the team. This is going to be the dress rehearsal, shall we say. We are actually going to see some starters, guys. So all the people that want to see starters in preseason, you're getting your wish. We are going to see some starters in the preseason. For me personally, I'll be honest, I don't really care about preseason. I think joint practices are a much better measuring stick for starters going up against another team's starters. I think that's a better setting than a pre-season game. But it's a game nonetheless. We're all junkies on here for football. We like watching football, so we're going to be watching it no matter what. It will be cool to see the starters get a dress rehearsal, just see them look at least positive, because, I've mentioned this before. Last year, even with the starters out there, genuinely it was so bad, the offense, and even in pre-season they couldn't run the operations, they couldn't get plays off. It was a mess, and I think a lot of us probably glossed over that just because of obviously how good they were the year before, and didn't really pay, we didn't put too much stock into that when we should have, and that was clearly an indicator for how the season was going to go offensively, and they were a mess offensively, and that started in the preseason. What we've seen so far from the rookies, from Tyler Huntley, much improved in terms of just much more smooth operations. They can actually look like an NFL offense out there. So that is, of course, been a bigger improvement. So that's all I want to see. I just want to see this offense look like the offense has looked for the rest of the preseason. Just, run the operation smooth, get your plays off, make a few plays. I'm happy. Do they need to score 5 touchdowns? I don't care. I really, really don't care. I just want to see them be able to run things smoothly. I want to see get in, get out, no injuries. Let's have a little sneak peek of this offense. Let's maybe get one Joe Flacco bomb, and of course, that I'll be happy with that. It is kind of funny, Joe Flacco, making his first start as the official Browns starter. Obviously, it's pre-season, but still, against the LA Rams, who were the team that he played his first game in 2023 when he came obviously off his couch to the Browns. So shout out to Mac, by the way, the Buffalo Mac. Is it Buffalo Mac or Mac Buffalo on Twitter? Great account if you don't follow him. He posted that earlier, which, it does make you think. It does always seem to be full circle moment with Cleveland. But all the starters are expected to play. Does Joel Bitonio play? I'm not as convinced as the others. If Joel does play, maybe it's the first series, maybe 1 or 2 series. Kevin did say that the starters will be out there for 25 to 30 plays, which is quite a lot. It might not seem like a lot, but that can be over a third of a game. I think the average amount of plays that a team has in an NFL game is about 69. Low. And of course, 30 plays is over a third. It's nearly half of the plays. Are they actually out there for 25, 30 plays? We'll have to wait and see. But I expect that to be more the offense than the defense. I don't think we need to see the defense out there for 30 plays, the starters. I think this is more just the offense to try to, as I said, get that dress rehearsal and just give them some reps before, obviously, week 1 and kind of get them there. But I wouldn't expect Joel to play 30 plays in this game. If anyone's going to only play a series or 2, I think it will be Joel. Whereas obviously the rest of the guys might be closer to that 25, 30 snap range. We'll get that starting offensive line out there, even if it is without Joel. They'll just bring Tevin Jenkins in instead. So we'll get to see the bulk of this starting offense out there. We'll get to see what Harold Fanning and David Njoku look like out there. If I'm honest, like I've said this before, I wouldn't play Flacco or Judy on offense or Joel Bitonio. I just wouldn't do it, but they probably will. And obviously, if they do, just cross your fingers the whole time, hope no one gets hurt, and hope that they can get some good reps. But on the defensive side of the ball, Kevin has also said that the starters are expected to play. I do think they will get less snaps than the offense. I don't think we're going to see the starting defense out there for half the game. And I will just say this right now. If I see Myles Garrett take 1 snap in this game, I will turn my TV off. I will drive to the West Coast. I will jump in the Atlantic Ocean and I will swim across the Atlantic Ocean just so I can personally slap Kevin Stefanski in the face. I do not want to see Myles Garrett out there at all. Can he dress up? Fine. Can he bring a helmet out? Fine. I do not want to see him taking 1 snap. Myles Garrett does not need to be playing in preseason. Myles Garrett, if he really wanted to, could have spent all summer on his couch just doing his own workouts, and he would still be the best pass rusher in the world in week 1. Of course, I'm saying he shouldn't do that, but that would still be the case. He does not need to play in preseason. I do not want to see Myles Garrett playing in preseason. Absolutely no. I would say the same thing about Denzel Ward, which has just reminded me that I actually missed out a bit of news at the start of this video. Denzel Ward, we had an injury scare, hurt his shoulder, went inside with a trainer. I was there, by my window. Whoa, do I don't? It genuinely, if that came through that he had a serious injury to his shoulder, at that point you just think, what is the fucking point? Genuinely, I think a lot of us were scared about that one. Thankfully, turns out that it was probably more likely just a stinger. He will be fine. It is day to day. But even if that wasn't the case, same thing with Myles. I would have not played Denzel Ward in this game. He does not need to play in this game. We've seen that he's ready for week 1 in the joint practices and in camp. Those guys, put them on ice, wrap them in bubble wrap. We do not need to see them. I do not want to see Myles Garrett out there. I'll be honest, I don't really like seeing that many starters out there at all. I understand, yes, they need to obviously get their reps, and I'm not against some of these guys getting their reps, but it's preseason. We don't need to be playing them more than we need to. The Rams on the other side, you won't see any of their starters. Sean McVay does not play his starters, never has, never will. It alludes to the argument of, I've spoken about this on here before. Should NFL teams play starters? Should they not? There's no science behind this. Andy Reid likes to play his starters. It's worked out fine for them. Sean McVay doesn't play his starters. I think it's worked out fine for them. I'm not saying that means the Browns shouldn't play their starters or should, whatever. I'm just saying that, there is no science behind this, and and that's been proven. So you won't see any of the Rams starters out there, which does, slightly beg the question, how much do we really need to see of our starters, because they're not getting reps against starters, they're getting reps against second and third stringers, not exactly, the best reps that you can get. That's why I believe that joint practices are better than preseason games, because you are getting reps against those starters. You can't guarantee that in a preseason game. So you don't expect to see, obviously, Matt Stafford, don't expect to see any of their starters. Stenson Bennett, I think, will probably play the whole game. I think he played the whole last preseason game. That's just what the Rams do. Their third string quarterback or second string quarterback will play every preseason game with all of their backups. We're not going to obviously see these starters going up against the Rams starters, which of course would have been better, would have been a better indicator, would have been a better measuring stick. But that doesn't mean that the Browns still can't get some good reps out there. I expect the starters to play. I don't expect to see Miles. I hope not to see Miles. I don't think we'll see Joel. If we do, it will be for 1 or 2 series, if that. And then the rest of the guys, 25, 30 plays. I don't think so. I think it'll probably be more 15 to 20, and I hope it would be more 15 to 20, if I'm honest, because as I said, it's preseason. Let's get those 2 rookies out there. Let's get those backups and other rookies out there and see what we have in those guys. And that is lining this up to be probably one of the more entertaining Browns preseason games this year. Obviously, week 1, Carolina, we got to watch Shedeur Sanders ball out. Week 2, we got to watch Dillon Gabriel. Now we get to see the Browns starters get their dress rehearsal, and also get to see Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders play in this game as well. Kenny Pickett has been confirmed not to play in this game, so I expect him to probably be in New Orleans by next week. I'm sure that's probably why he's not playing. They probably rang the Browns up and said, "Hi guys, can you not play Kenny in preseason this week, because we will be making that phone call next week." No worries. And of course, you won't see Tyler Huntley, because why give Tyler Huntley any snaps over the guys that are actually going to be on the roster this year? So that's the preseason game. As I said, I'm looking forward to it. Should be a decent measuring stick for these starters. See where they're at. See if they can look. I say see. They're going to look better than the offense did last year. If they don't, we should be worried. And then the defense, of course, continue the really good play that they've had all preseason, and carry that on into week 1 against Cincinnati. I'm sure all of us were licking our lips watching that Cincinnati starters out there in their preseason game, and Joe Burrow running for his life in a preseason game. I'm sure the Browns themselves were licking their lips watching that, and having the Browns defensive line go up against that. So I can't wait. Looking forward to this one. I hope you guys are looking forward to this one. Please, football gods, no injuries. Let's just get through this one nice and healthy. On to week 1, bring all the excitement, ready for Cincinnati. But that will do it for me today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you do enjoy my content, then please drop this video a like, hit the subscribe button. It's free, but it really, really helps out my channel. I think I'm about 12 subscribers away from 200. Trying to get to 200 before the season starts, so any help is greatly appreciated. You can also check the links in the description to see where you can follow if you really want to come see my unhinged tweets on the Browns. Interact with me on social media. All of that stuff you can find in the links in the description. As always, guys, I'm trying to build a community of Cleveland Browns fans, and even if that means I only get to talk to one fan a day, I'm happy, because I'm talking Browns football with the best fan base in the world. Thanks again for watching, guys. Have an amazing weekend. Enjoy this game. But most importantly, go Browns.